G'day. My name's Alan Gamble. Welcome to another episode of Aussie Box Office Charts. Weekend 52, last weekend of 2025. Let's dive into this exciting weekend. So starting off, Avatar Fire and Ash holds top spot in its second week of release, bringing in another $8.2 million, dropping just 26% for a current total of $26.3 million. Really good hold, kind of was expecting that Christmas weekend, that Boxing Day, huge weekend for the box office normally. No exception this year. Anaconda, the sequel remake parody thing, brings in $3.5 million to open in second. That is pretty good. We'll compare it with the original 1997 Anaconda once we're done with the top 10, but yeah, it's a good number. The Housemaid opens in third with $2.8 million for a current total of $3 million. Another pretty solid opening. It was a big box office weekend, and it always is, but the entirety of the top five, over $1 million, good numbers. At number 4, Zootopia 2 drops down, dropping just 27% in its fifth week of release, bringing in another $1.9 million for a current total of $26.1 million. You notice that is a very close number to Avatar's total, so we'll check the top 10 shortly. SpongeBob the movie, The Search for SquarePants, opens with $1.6 million for a current total of just under $1.8 million. Moving on to 6 through 10, at number 6 we have Wicked for Good, dropping down 11% in its sixth week of release, with another $770,000 for a current total of $30.4 million. Really good number there. We'll be checking that in the top 10 shortly as well. Duranda spends a fourth week in the top 10, dropping just 30% for a current total of $4.6 million. Really good numbers from that. Rental Family at number 8 opens with $300,000 for a current total of $350,000. I did catch that one. I really liked it. I think it's a really good movie. Didn't bring in as much as Sentimental Value, which I also caught. But Rental Family is going to be the more accessible to a general audience. At number 9, we have Nuremberg with another $300,000, dropping just 15% in its fourth week of release for a current total of $2.9 million. And rounding out the top 10 for the last weekend of 2025 is Five Nights at Freddy's 2 with $280,000, its fourth week in release, dropping another 63% for a current total of $8.8 million. Now, time to take a look at our specialty charts. They say you can't judge Avatar by its first week. The same is said of its second week. But I figured I'd pop this chart up because we're going to keep an eye on this chart over upcoming weeks. But this is week 1 of Avatar, Avatar The Way of Water, and Avatar Fire and Ash versus its week 2. And you can see Avatar Fire and Ash is at the bottom on both weeks. But Avatar, the original, you can see it started very close to the orange line of Avatar Fire and Ash, and by week 2, it was much closer to Avatar The Way of Water. I think that trend is going to continue. I think we're going to see the blue line dip off. I'm not sure if we're going to see the orange line live out, but it's going to be interesting watch moving forward regardless. Our number 2 movie, Anaconda 2025, opened to $3.5 million. This is the total gross of Anaconda in 1997 versus the total current gross of Anaconda 2025. So I can't find opening weekend numbers of Anaconda from 1997 because records are spotty, but it didn't open at number 1, so it must have opened at number 2, 3, or 4 or below. And if it brought in $3.6 million for its entire run, it's not going to be close to $3.5 million for its opening weekend. But if we adjust these numbers for inflation, because it's 1997, Anaconda's 1997's total sits at around $7 million. So Anaconda 2025 is doing great, and it will probably well surpass the 97 version, but that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Like, the 97 one was terrible. Another total check is the Zootopia versus Zootopia 2. Where we have Zootopia that ended up at around $28 million. Zootopia 2 is now at $26.1 million, and it's still got gas in the tank. It's going into the school holidays, like January holidays. Family movies tend to do pretty well during the entirety of January. So I think Zootopia 2 is going to beat out Zootopia from 2016 by a decent margin. How high is it going to go? We'll have to find out. And finally, Wicked versus Wicked for Good. As you can see here, the green line is just getting flatter and flatter. The pink line for the original Wicked is still going up. So this is what I kind of expect to see with the Avatar chart as we move forward. But that one has 3 movies, this one only has 2. But you can see it's pretty clear. The original Wicked, people just kept going to see it for a lot longer than Wicked for Good. So not good news for Wicked. It's still a smash hit. And we'll dive into just how much of a smash hit it still is. Just not as big a smash hit as the original. So I alluded to a lot of movement in the 2025 top 10 of the Australian box office. Look at all those arrows. You can see it. Our top 3 stay the same. A Minecraft movie at number 1 with $56.2 million. Lilo and Stitch at number 2 with $34.3 million. Jurassic World Rebirth at number 3, for now, at $31.5 million. Wicked for Good moves up 2 spots to 4th with its $30.5 million. It's very, very close to Jurassic World, about $1 million. So if it can get $1 more million, it's going to land at number 3. How to Train Your Dragon moves down to number 5 with its $30.445 million. F1 the movie also gets bumped down to number 6 with its $30.2 million. A new entry at number 7 with Avatar Fire and Ash with its $26.4 million. Zootopia 2 also moves up another spot with its $26.1 million. That's knocking Superman and Mission Impossible down with its $24.9 and $23.6 million. And it's dropping out the Fantastic Four First Steps. This is a big story because that makes this year, 2025, the first year that there is no MCU movie in the top 10 at the end of the year. Unless it has a resurgence, it's not going to. It's got just over $18 million. There's no MCU movies at the end of the year chart. There's a Superman movie, but Superman's not MCU. No MCU. We exclude 2020 for obvious reasons. The last time there was no MCU movie in the top 10 at the end of the year was 2011, where Thor came in at number 14. So that's a bit of a record that I'm not sure Disney or Marvel will be happy with, but it's how it is. So this is what the current top 10 currently looks like. This chart will stay live as we move into 2026 because they are still 2025 releases and they're still bringing in more money. So we will not have this chart finalized until maybe mid-Jan or mid-February. So we will keep this one and we will keep an eye on it because unlike Screen Australia, I don't like the way they report their numbers where if a movie brings in $5 million in 2025 and $10 million in 2026, it reports it as 2 different years for 2 different grosses. If a movie is released in calendar year 2025, its total gross in that hypothetical scenario is $15 million in 2025. Full stop. But that's how that looks. So let's move on to what's upcoming. So upcoming this week, the 1st of January 2026, we have in wide release Song Sung Blue, a new music drama based on the true story about a Neil Diamond tribute band directed by Craig Brewer and starring Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson. We also have The Coral, another music-based movie, this one set in England during World War I, directed by Nicholas Heitner and starring Ralph Fiennes, Roger Allam, and Mark Addy. In limited release, so check your smaller and local cinemas. The Pout Pout Fish is something we're getting a little bit earlier. It's releasing in March or April in a lot of places. But it's a new family animated comedy directed by Richard Cuso and starring Nick Offerman, Nine Oyama, and Miranda Otto. Finally, we have Ikiris, a Hindi-language historical war drama out of India, which is set during the India-Pakistan War of 1971. Across on streaming, not too much releasing during this time of year, but there are a couple of things. In a new release, we have Runaway, a new British mystery drama series on Netflix from creator Daniel Brocklehurst, starring Minnie Driver, Ruth Jones, and James Nesbitt. You can catch this one on Netflix on January 1st. We also have the Stranger Things Season 5 finale, or Season 5, Part 3, on December 31st on Netflix, obviously, as the end of that show, so I can stop hearing about it. But not a lot coming out this week. Obviously, all the Christmas releases are expected to carry on the box office for the next few weeks, because January and February, pretty dead months for movies. So, 7 movies for the final challenge of the year, so let's dive into what I watched. First up was The Old Guard 2, directed by Victoria Mahoney and starring Charlize Theron, Kiki Lane, and Matthias Schoenaerts, a direct sequel to the surprisingly fun and good The Old Guard from 2020. Unfortunately, this one was neither as fun or as good. While there was still some fun fight scenes and action sequences, everything in between was a bit nonsensical, even after you checked out your brain at the door, which, I'm happy to do for some movies. This one took it a little bit too far. Very big disappointment compared to the original. Next up was The Long Kiss Goodnight from 1996, directed by Rennie Harlin and written by Shane Black, starring Gina Davies and Samuel L. Jackson. A classic Christmas movie of an assassin who suffered amnesia and is years later recovering her memories, only to find people wanting to take her out. An absolute but often overlooked classic that should be up there with Die Hard in terms of Christmas action movie vibes, in my opinion. Great little movie. Moving on was Baby Assassins from 2021, directed by Yugo Sakamoto and starring Akiri Takashi and Saori Iwasa, giving us a story of a pair of high school assassins that have to grow up, move in together, and get real jobs for cover for tax reasons. Absolutely ridiculous as it sounds, but a bunch of fun with some great action sequences, low budget, but really solid fun. Really surprised me. The next was a Boxing Day double feature of Sentimental Value, directed by Joachim Trier, starring Renate Renaisiv, Stellan Skarsgård, and Inga Ilias. A heavy award season drama, but with the praise fully warranted. It was a really, really good movie, and it was really great performances. I don't regret seeing it, but it is definitely an awards contender movie. So if you're not into those heavy dramas, maybe give that one a miss. The second movie from Boxing Day was Rental Family, directed by Hikari, starring Brendan Fraser, Takehiro Hira, and Mari Yamamoto, telling us of a failed Western actor living in Japan having to try out another career of being hired by people to pretend to be family members. A really great movie again, with some great performances, although I think this one will be more accessible for general audiences. Both really good movies on Boxing Day, but if you're going to see one and you just want a good movie, Rental Family is probably the one you pick. Moving on was a 2025 rewatch of Superman, directed by James Gunn, and starring David Corenswet, Rachel Brosnan, and Nicholas Hoult. Fun movie on rewatch, still a lot of fun, some great Superman movie moments. Not too much to say, but happy I rewatched it because I last saw it all the way back in the middle of the year. Finally was Eternity, directed by David Freyen, starring Elizabeth Olsen, Miles Teller, and Callum Turner, giving us the story of an afterlife and having to choose: do you spend it with your partner of 65 years or your first partner who lost their life before you had a chance? I really like this one. Age 24 slight vibes, but in a more traditional rom-com production values and style situation. Really fun movie. I really, really liked it. This week's Cinechums Movie Challenge, week 1 of 2026, let's go, is First. So, first in the title, first directing or acting debut, first in a franchise chronologically or release date, first watch of an actor that I've never seen, or historical firsts, so like real world stuff. A few people have kicked it off already with things like Elio and 28 Days Later. We've also got optional for First Blood or First Love or The First Omen. Let's have a look at my shortlist. Not a huge amount on there, but K-pop Demon Hunters, it's getting a sequel. It's now the first in the franchise. First Man, Mission Impossible, Judge Dredd, Colourful Stage, Miku Who Can't Sing. We've got a few there. We'll see how we go. And that is it for me this week. I did catch both Rental Family and Sentimental Value on Boxing Day, but this weekend will be a low profile while I start to compile all my end of year lists. I saw a lot of movies this year, I watched a lot of TV shows this year. I am going to be getting videos of my top TV shows, maybe my worst movies of the year list if I've got more to watch. And as I did last year, my top movies of 2025 in Cinefix style. Takes a lot of work, but I am putting it together. Hopefully it won't be released in March this year, but I am aiming for a January, mid to late January release for it. But that is it for me. Have a good one. Watch more movies. Bye!